Test 1, 2. How's that, Dan? Is that better? Am I actually on air now? We will test all this stuff out as we go. There we go. I hear myself. There. Okay. Downside of not being in a studio, y'all. That's all I got to say about that. I will worry about that as it comes. You weren't able to hear stuff, but here we go. We'll start the show in 3, 2.
Are you ready?
From the Fox Sports 1380 studio.
From 31 yards, McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl. Garoppolo under pressure. Donald got there in the air, intercepted by the Rams, and they may ride to the Super Bowl on that.
It's The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton.
It is The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, Fox Sports 1380. Thank you all so much for tuning into the show. That right there, of course, the psychic, my dude, Marky Mix. Check out his music on SoundCloud. That's my dude. A lot of stuff went on this week in the world of sports. Way too much stuff, in my opinion, going on in the world of sports. But hey, we power through. We do what we got to do. The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Undisputed Craft House, 1881 Salt Kleinfeld. The burger of the month is here. Try the El Paso burger all month long. Coming up, though, in the month of February, make sure to make Undisputed Craft House the spot that you want to take that special someone on Valentine's Day. Dan Morales already chiming in about the new look that I've got going on right now. At Undisputed Craft House, they have the 4-course, 4-beer special. They're pairing 4 beers with 4 different meals. Go check them out on Valentine's Day. If you're lonely and you're single, go February 19th, Sour Saturday. It's for the people who can't get a text back or send out the infamous new phone who dis text. And on February 26th, another effing art show and vintage market will be held at Undisputed Craft House from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Visit them on Facebook at Undisputed Craft House for more information. Yes, Dan, I have decided that I, too, am going to let my hair grow out. My dude, Travis Storner, tuned in right now as well. That's my guy. Over at Three Missions Brewery, go check out Three Missions Brewery. They've got all kinds of stuff going on, live music later on this month. We'll talk a little bit later about what they've got going on over at Three Missions Brewery. I've got 5 pages, 5 literal pages of show that I prepped today because there's been a lot of stuff going on, right? Like it's been a very, very busy sports week. So the first thing that we're going to get into is the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams being in the Super Bowl. For a lot of people, that was not the Super Bowl that we predicted. For myself, it definitely wasn't the Super Bowl that we predicted. But hey, we have to power through. We keep going on, right? Like that's all we can do. I was wrong. Kansas City was not the team of destiny that I thought they were. My dude Travis, very upset as a Kansas City fan. My guy James Steele that I do, Bob, Jim, and Pat Get Drunk on the Internet, also a Kansas City fan, very upset. A lot of Buffalo Bills fans I know, though, were extremely happy about watching Kansas City lose that game, choke away a 21-3 first-half lead. I have my issues with that, okay? I don't know if you choke away a lead in the first half. You were up by a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal at halftime. A 2-score game at half. And it wasn't even 2 full touchdowns. A 2-score game at half. To me, that's not choking away. That's football. That's the game playing the way the game is going to be played. Stephanie Brooke Aragon saying she's got the Rams winning it. I mean, I would like to see honestly, both these teams are fine with me. Either one of them winning is fine with me. The Rams going all in, paying a lot of money to get this team roster, the way that they've got it worked out. That's the return on investment has to pay off, right? Like you kind of want to see that pay off. But the story with the Cincinnati Bengals, this team feels like the actual team of destiny, right? Everything that I said Kansas City was last week, everything that a lot of people thought that the Kansas City Chiefs were, or the Buffalo Bills, or some of these other teams are, didn't pan out. And it seems like Cincinnati might actually be that team. I found this astonishing going through their season this year. They've played 20 games. Of those 20 games, 12 of them one-score games. Of those 12 games, they won 8 of those 12 of those one-score games. That was very well said. I know I articulated it perfectly, so let me repeat it one more time. They played the Cincinnati Bengals 20 games this year. 12 of those games came down to a one-score game. Of those 12 games, they won 8. That is a team that is resilient. That is a team that knows how to win in the clutch. You talk about a lot of other teams out there that lose those one-score games. Look at the LA Chargers. It seemed over the last 20 years, over the last 2 decades, the LA Chargers were that team that could get you close, but never win those one-score games or never win those close games. Dan Morales saying, go Burrow, break the Heisman curse. I'm with that as well. Like I want to see that. I'm glad that you brought that up because that was going to be my next point here. If Cincinnati wins this game, Joe Burrow becomes the 3rd quarterback in the history of the NFL to win a national title in football and then win a Super Bowl in the NFL. Joe Montana, Joe Namath. Along with that, he would be the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to win a Super Bowl with a Heisman Trophy, a national title, and then, of course, winning the Super Bowl. So that would be the quarterback triple crown in college to the NFL. It's going to be a hell of a task, though, for Joe Burrow to ultimately get this victory, for the Bengals to ultimately get this victory, because we know what their issue is, and it's the offensive line. But whenever you look at what the Bengals did, like, I feel like an idiot because I only chose them once during this playoff. I didn't think that this was a team like you always see sports and you know that you have to have those growing pains, right? Like there's always those growing pains. There's always those issues that people have whenever it comes to, look at Michael Jordan, his route to being a champion. The Boston Celtics beat up on the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons come back and beat up on the Boston Celtics. Then go on to beat up on the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls come back even better and beat up on the Detroit Pistons. You very rarely see the young team dominate the way that they did. And make no mistakes about it. The way that the Cincinnati Bengals played in the second half, they dominated, absolutely dominated the Kansas City Chiefs. Fast forward, though. Who you got in the Super Bowl? Already, Stephanie Brooke ought to go and telling us that she is going with the Rams winning it all. I'm assuming that Dan Morales, with his comment, is going with the Cincinnati Bengals. One thing that I know is that I know very few Rams fans. I know very few Bengals fans. And for me, it's always fun to me to see a team that you haven't seen before, right? And there's a lot of fans out there that can get super annoying. People take sports way too personally. I am not one of those people. Yes, I was upset at the Dallas Cowboys. Not anymore. That's already in the past. But I want to see a good game. Brendan Butler saying it's the Commanders' year next year, HTTC. We're going to talk about that name coming up here in just a little bit. You talk about the worst timing of all time is the Washington Commanders team just announcing their new name during this week. Of all the weeks to announce it this week because you were hoping to get something out of it. Dan Morales saying, go team Dr. Dre. That's the thing that I think a lot of people are looking forward to, right? Like the halftime show. I know myself, like I said, I don't have a dog in this race. My team is never in this race. So all I'm cheering for is a good game and a great halftime show. And Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar, that to me is going to be a fire-ass halftime show. So I'm excited to see how that goes whenever the game actually happens. No football this week unless you count the Pro Bowl as football, which you shouldn't. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on as well. On the other side of the table, though, we were talking about the Bengals getting there, the journey that they took to get to the to the Super Bowl. The LA Rams beating Brandon Butler's San Francisco 49ers 20-3 or 20-17, a 3-point game. The last 4 games in the NFL, or the last 6 games actually in the NFL, determined by a combined 21 points. If that doesn't show you that these games have been amazing, I don't know what will. 6 games, 21 points. The only game in there that was more than a field goal at the end was the Kansas City Buffalo overtime game that that Kansas City scored the touchdown to end the game. The LA Rams, though, going back to that, Jimmy G is not the guy. If you're a San Francisco 49er, there's no way in hell you can tell me that Jimmy G is the guy that you want running your team going forward. Now, I have to ask the question, who do you get to replace Jimmy G, right? Like, there's a lot of options out there if you're San Francisco. Maybe you go all in and try to get Aaron Rodgers, right? Maybe that's the route that you try to go. But as far as I'm concerned, they've got a lot of issues on that team. You cannot just keep having Deebo Samuel in the backfield getting beat up as a running back and then out like on the line and stuff like that. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's able to bounce back. He's able to do all those things. But you have to get depth at wide receiver. To me, San Francisco's got a little bit of problems, right? Like, that defense is good. That offensive line is good. Kittle's getting good. You need an actual running back. You need a real running back, not a wide receiver that's going to, do the gimmicks. And then you need actual wide receivers, people that can actually go out, run routes, and catch the damn ball. San Francisco's got to address that in the future. And, of course, the quarterback situation, because as we know, like I said earlier, Jimmy G, not that guy. Just simply not that guy. Let's not let that take away from who won, though, the LA Rams. Come back, win the game, save me from having to see the San Francisco 49ers and their fan base go happy that they're in a Super Bowl. I just want to say this. I know I'm going to sound bitter as all hell, but if you're a San Francisco 49ers fan and your big claim to fame is the fact that you've been to Super Bowls since 1994, congrats, I guess. I never thought that the idea was to simply go to the Super Bowl. I thought the idea was to win the Super Bowl. And since that is the line of thinking that I think every player in the NFL and every athlete ever has is we want to win these games, it's been a longer drought for the 49ers than it has the Cowboys. Shut your damn mouth. Really that simple whenever it comes down to the San Francisco 49ers and their fan base. But alas, yes, they beat the Dallas Cowboys in the divisional or in the wild card round. Congratulations. You have won your Super Bowl. You beat America's team. But that game last week, the game this past weekend, the Rams 49ers, Sean McVay, the sexiest coach alive, versus Jimmy Garoppolo, arguably the sexiest quarterback that is active in the NFL. That had to be the sexiest game. I'm sure the ratings for women were through the roof during that game as well. Brandon Butler saying I'm breaking his heart over here. I'm sorry, my guy. Your people came after me. I had to rebut back. I apologize. I got nothing but love for you, my dude. That is my Air Force brother. I will always have love for you. Now, Sean McBay could be the youngest coach to win the Super Bowl. Think about that. He is in his 5th year as a coach, and he is now in his 2nd Super Bowl. 36 years old. He'll be a couple of months younger than Mike Tomlin was whenever he won the Super Bowl. And that's pretty cool to see. But also, this Super Bowl features 2 of the youngest head coaches in the NFL. And it is the youngest head coach Super Bowl in the history of the Super Bowl. And that's a pretty cool thing to see, right? Because a lot of times you get like these young coaches, they don't succeed, they get fired real quick, go in that purgatory of being an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator for a couple of years, and then ultimately get nothing, right? Like you wind up being an old coach, Hugh Jackson, all that good stuff, right? But the LA Rams, I feel, had to do this because they went all in. Getting Matt Stafford, getting Jalen Ramsey, getting Odell Beckham Jr., going out there and getting, Sony Michel, Cam Akers now coming back, Von Miller, and, all the moves that they did to try to get this team to a Super Bowl. If they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I'm going to be very interested to see how different this team may look in the future because, as we know, salary caps are a real thing in the NFL. I feel like the team that has the most pressure on them to win the game are the LA Rams because nobody's expecting anything from the Bengals. The Bengals are that team that's just happy to be there. The Rams have all the pressure in the world on them right now because they haven't done it. They just simply haven't done it. And that's the real, and that pressure is a real thing, right? Go back a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the 49ers beating the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy comes out after that game and says, yeah, that team looked nervous. There's that pressure there, that palpable pressure that is put on these athletes to perform. It's going to be there on the Rams. You're at home. Yes, you are labeled the visiting team, but you are at home in SoFi Stadium. You are in LA. You are trying to bring a championship to that city that city hasn't had in, I want to say, forever. I don't even know if the LA Raiders were a thing whenever they won the championship in 1983. You are at home. You have put in all this money, all of the time, all of the effort to try to win this game, and now is the opportunity for you. It is put right in front of you. The LA Rams have all the pressure in the world. Stephanie Brooke ought to go and saying OBJ is wide receiver goals. Stephanie is the quarterback / wide receiver for the Sun City Stealth. They are a local team, a professional women's team in the Women's Football Alliance, the WFA, here in El Paso, Texas. So she knows a little bit about what she's talking about. Felicia Weeks saying she is just glad she ain't seeing Tom Brady in any more Super Bowls. That hurts. That hurts me deeply. Tom Brady, the epitome of greatness. We'll talk about that a little bit later, his retirement, and how I'm going to just drink myself into a stupor because I will no longer have Tom Brady to just ogle at. Does anyone care about the Pro Bowl? Should I talk about the Pro Bowl? Should we break down the Pro Bowl? I'll let you all vote on that a little bit later on. Like, just bring it to me. Should I even talk about the most ridiculous game in the history of ridiculous games, the Pro Bowl, because no one cares about that damn game. I don't think anybody in their right mind is watching that game. Dan Morales saying next. Moving on from the Pro Bowl. Stephanie Brooke ought to go and commenting over to Felicia saying facts, hashtag facts, being happy that you're not going to see Tom Brady anymore. How could you be happy you're not going to see Tom Brady? Like that right there is insane to me. How can you be happy about that? That is the greatest of all time. We witnessed greatness, absolute greatness. Now, was he undefeated against the Dallas Cowboys? Yes, and I think that has something to play into Felicia's way of thinking. Those that don't know, Felicia, my biological sister, I got nothing but love for her. Her husband, Travis, is a Giants fan. Don't know how that happened. Don't know how that works with them being married, but hey, they've been married for a while. Congrats on that, I guess, Felicia. I hope you bragged all year long about the Dallas Cowboys being just slightly better than the lowly and woeful New York Giants. Brandon Butler mentioned it a little while ago. The Washington football team changing their name to the Washington Commanders. How do we feel about that name, right? Like, the jokes write themselves, right? I put out on Twitter yesterday, don't be a commie, root for America's team, because the Commanders are just absolute, like that. It's a dumpster fire of an organization. Yes, they've got a new name. Dan Snyder's still the owner. Dan Snyder's still having those issues with, sexually assaulting people, or I shouldn't say that, alleged issues that Dan Snyder has with the Washington football team. It's a dumpster fire, right? So here they come, and they say, February 2nd, we are going to announce that we have a new name. And everybody already knew what the name was because in their team store, they had big, huge banners because they forgot to black out their windows that said Washington Commanders, established 1922. Congratulations on the new name, Washington football team. I would have stuck with football team. I think it sounds better than Commanders, still keeping the exact same color scheme. So hey, at least merch sales are going to be okay, right? And they actually bought their domain this time. Those that don't know, the reason why they stuck with Washington football team for so long is because they put out prematurely. They put out the names of the teams that they were going to try to become. The Washington Generals, the Washington Sentinels, all kinds of, pretty cool names like the Red Hogs and things of that nature. But they didn't buy any of the domain names, and all the domain names got bought out. And people are super greedy and didn't allow the Washington football team to just get it for free. They were going to basically hold those domain names ransom. So therefore, the Washington football team has to go another year as the football team. And now, finally, after so long, after a much anticipated wait by all 5 of their fans in Washington, D.C. that show up to that crappy stadium that's falling apart, where guardrails are falling on Jalen Hurts, they announce with all the glory in the world, we are the Washington Commanders. Dan Morales saying the Admirals. I kind of like the Admirals better than I like the Commanders. Literally at this point, anything right now to me is better than the Commanders. Again, it writes itself. Like there will be, the tipping point, just the tip, Mike Tipton merch out there that says, don't be a commie, cheer for America's team. Really that simple. Like it writes itself. The commies are coming, right? They chose a bad. And then their colors are red too. My God. Whoever the hell was it is Dan Snyder. We can't even say if they have a marketing department. All this was Dan Snyder. I'm the commander of this boat. I don't know why I'm making Dan Snyder sound like this guy, but this is exactly what I feel Dan Snyder sounds like. Going back to the Tom Brady discussion, Stephanie Brooke got out going saying he is the GOAT, but new material. It's just like Alabama, always winning. Thumbs down is the emoji there. Felicia replying to my response of how she and her husband make it work. She said, I don't know. It just happened. It just happened. I think that's going to be on my gravestone. It just happened. Whenever we come back on the tipping point with my Tipton Fox Sports 1380, we talk a little bit about Brian Flores' lawsuit against the NFL. How in the hell the Dallas Cowboys are still making headlines. It's because ESPN wants people to tune in. And we get into our tip picks, all kinds of stuff like that as the show continues. When we continue on the tipping point with my Tipton on Fox Sports 1380. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. As you know, if you've been watching, if you've been doing any of that nonsense, I got to have these little breaks. I don't have commercials that are playing right now. I wish I did. Maybe we could work on some of that stuff. And now I got to log into my laptop that is recording everything. It's a very intricate setup that I've got over here trying to get this stuff done. So those of you that are tuned in right now are getting the behind the scenes access. There we go. Be patient with me, please. Give me some of your comments, what you would like to see me talk about. What annoys you in sports? I'm sure it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys because they annoy the hell out of me as well. I'm just looking for intro music right now, y'all. Sorry. I know I'm being super annoying at this moment. There we go. Why not? Why not just use that? All right. I got all my DJ stuff here, so we'll see how it goes. All right. Coming back in 3, 2.
Are you ready?
From the Fox Sports 1380 studio.
The greatest champion of all time.
Tom Brady, Super Bowl champion for the 7th time. You're also Super Bowl MVP.
The greatest athlete of all time. The greatest winner of all time.
Brady looking the other way. Brady going deep down the right sideline for Evans. He makes the catch. He's in for the score.
The greatest football player of all time has officially retired.
It's the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton.
It is the tipping point of my tip to Fox Sports 1380. Thank you all so much for tuning into the show, whether you're doing that on the iHeartRadio app, if you're doing that on the airwaves of Fox Sports 1380, or if you're tuned in on one of our various live streams, watching on YouTube, watching on Twitch, watching on Facebook, Twitter, all over the place. Thank you all so much for the support and all that good stuff. There was a hot take given to me right now in the comments section by Destiny. Mr. Garcia says that dunks in basketball are overly celebrated. Yes and no. Most people cannot do that. I guess you've got hops. You might be able to do that. I was able to dunk at 5'9", 5'10". Long time ago. I was happy about it. I love seeing a good dunk. The NBA dunk contest is literally the only thing, or was the only thing worth watching whenever it came to the NBA All-Star Weekend. But I digress. If you can dunk, cool. Don't celebrate it. But if you love watching dunks, it's like saying home runs are overly celebrated. Or like long touchdowns are overly celebrated. What is wrong? That right there makes me think you, sir, are a Washington Commie fan. But I digress from that. Felicia Weeks asking, where do I think Sean Payton is going? Sean Payton is going to the announcing booth. He will not be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Part of that comes because the Dallas Cowboys stay in everyone's mouth. If it wasn't for the news cycle at ESPN needing fodder, needing little ashes to get people and the fire stoked, the Dallas Cowboys would not be one of the most hated teams out there because they simply just do not win. I have found out that Mr. Garcia is a Pats fan. Sorry for you. Get ready for another 30 years of just mediocrity and absolute nothingness, kind of like what that team was prior to Tom Brady showing up. I'm sorry. I will not be mean. The Patriots, you know how you have like those teams in your division, like you hate those teams in your division? Because I've always said this. One thing I've always said about this show, I am a fan. First and foremost, I am a fan. I will never BS anybody. I will do my best to not, I will always be transparent, right? First and foremost, I am a fan. For whatever reason, even though I love Tom Brady, I hated the Patriots. I hate the way the Patriots treated him. I'm not a big fan of Bill Belichick. I think, he's a vastly overrated coach. Take away Tom Brady, add in the years in Cleveland, and you've got yourself a guy that should have been fired roughly 20 years ago and never brought, like he's Wade Phillips. He's a glorified Wade Phillips. But you have those teams like in your division that you hate, and then you have like those random teams that you just can't stand. I hated the Patriots. Begrudgingly, I became a fan of Tom Brady because you just have to respect excellence. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'd love to see how many Pats fans continue to be Pats fans. Although I do know a lot of Red Sox fans, and those people are absolutely insane. I will continue to be absolutely insane. My best friend, Red Sox fan. Weird how that works. Shout out to my guy, Will Gassett. Destiny saying that Mr. Gonzalez acknowledges no one likes the Patriots, past or present. Tom was the Pats. It all died when he left. I mean, it was born with him, and then it died with him. Like Tom Brady is it, right? Like that is all Tom Brady, the success of that team. But Felicia asked a question a little bit earlier. Where do I think Sean Payton's going to go? I think he's going to go to the broadcast booth. I don't think that he's going to be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. If I was Sean Payton, I would stay smooth the hell away from there, and I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. The reason why I would stay the hell away from there is because Jerry Jones just doesn't know when to shut the hell up, right? And he's got to put out the little, food and crumbles and all that stuff to get the fans talking about the Dallas Cowboys during the offseason, an offseason that everyone's going to think, this team failed. They really did. But whenever you look at what the Dallas Cowboys are over the last couple of years with Dak Prescott, they will ransack that division. I want to say their record is 23-6 in that division. Outside of the division, they're 29-29. This is a 500 team. This year, there were a lot of expectations, the way the Dallas Cowboys started, the way the Dallas Cowboys were playing. But then you got to see them revert back to their old Dallas Cowboys ways. I don't think that's a Mike McCarthy thing. I don't think that's a Dallas Cowboys players thing. I don't think it's like what Bart Scott says, that the team is just way too spoiled because they have these great facilities and all the stuff that Jerry Jones has bought for that team and made and turned the Dallas Cowboys into a winning franchise financially. that team just has the specter of Jerry Jones looming over it at any point in time. You cannot feel like your job is safe whenever your general manager is standing over you all the time. And that is what Jerry Jones is doing with the Dallas Cowboys. I know, as a Cowboys fan, that's going to sound like sacrilege. Oh my God, how dare you say anything negative about the Dallas Cowboys? But that's it. We're talking about the pressure this team had to have felt, the pressure that was palpable, that Mike McCarthy walking into the locker room said, my God, this team feels nervous prior to a playoff game in the wild card round. Because Jerry Jones is looming over them all the time. The omnipotent presence of Jerry Jones just looming over them, adding the pressure, being down on the field, because not only is he the owner, he's also the GM. He is the most powerful man in sports, and that has to add multiple layers of pressure onto the coaching staff, onto the players. If you're Sean Payton, why on God's green earth would you go there? Because now, as Jerry Jones is getting older and Jerry Jones is moving on in life, and the end is much closer than the beginning was, it's right there facing him face to face. The pressure to win is there. The pressure of wanting his legacy to continue and grow and say, I won a championship without Jimmy Johnson. I was able to build this team into a winner again. That pressure is there on him, and he is exuding it out onto his players. Is it fair? No. Is it the way the business goes? Yes. That's why you see down in Miami, their owner, whatever the hell his name is, Stephen Ross, you see him firing coaches left and right because he knows his window to win, not just on the football field, but in his life, is slowly starting to close. Yes, I know it went very dark there. I apologize. But that is the way that sports runs. That is the way that owners, these very human individuals are. You see them start throwing money out because they want that last hurrah. There is nothing quite like winning that championship and knowing I did it. I am the reason for this. Because once again, we all want the navel gazing. I was going to say that. We all want the navel gazing of, hey, I did this. We want everyone to genuflect in front of us and be like, yeah, you are great. That is the last thing. That is the one thing that is driving Jerry Jones the most. And then he comes out and says these dumb things where he says, yeah, Mike McCarthy's my coach. Would I hire Dan Quinn as a head coach? Yeah. I think we have 3 head coaching candidates in Dan Quinn, Kellen Moore, and Mike McCarthy. That is all Jerry Jones had to say. That was all he said, actually. And ESPN took it and ran with it. They bastardized it. Oh my God, he's going to fire Mike McCarthy at the end of the day because it is Jerry Jones's business, right? Dan Morales saying it's a business. 100% it's a business. Jerry Jones is not going to fire Mike McCarthy. I don't think that he went out there just to say that he kept Dan Quinn so that Dan Quinn could be the next head coach. Because again, what that does, and if you've never been in the locker room, you know that what that does is mess up chemistry. Chemistry on your team is the most important thing you can have. It helps make bad teams decent and helps to make good teams great. That is what chemistry does for you. It's something that you cannot replace. So if you sit there and you say, oh yeah, no, I want this coach to be my next head coach, then you need to fire that head coach and put Dan Quinn in that position that Mike McCarthy is in. I don't think because Jerry Jones has been around this business long enough that he's dumb enough to do that. But it's fodder for ESPN, so let's run with it. And then let's talk about the joke that the Dallas Cowboys are, because Jerry Jones said something, I guess, somewhat raising humor on a radio station in Dallas on 103.5 The Fan. We were talking about Tom Brady a little bit earlier in the show. I've been trying to steer away from this topic because I was wrong. I make bold predictions on this show. Whenever I make a bold prediction, I write it down. I have a spreadsheet, Excel sheet, where I write down the bold predictions I said. Again, my bold prediction to start the show was that UTEP was not going to make an NCAA tournament this year. We'll see how they go. My other bold prediction was that the women's team would make their a run at the NCAA title, they would make a NCAA tournament appearance. But last week, my bold prediction was me being an idiot, ran by my heart, where I said Tom Brady was not going to retire. I was wrong. Saturday morning, I see a tweet come over my phone because I follow these people from working with them. Tom Brady announces his retirement. I say, no, there's no way. There's no way in hell Tom Brady's announcing his retirement, right? Like it just can't be. Another source, Tom Brady's announcing his retirement. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Could I possibly be wrong? Finally, I get that lifeline, that small little lifeline. I got it. Whenever the Tampa Bay Buccaneers said, we haven't heard anything from Tom Brady. Oh, Tom Brady is not going to retire. Tom Brady's dad comes out and says, no, my son's not ready to give up. Are you crazy? Look at the way he played this year. And that's what I was going off of. Led the NFL in completions and yardage, in touchdowns. Tom Brady, arguably the best year of his career at 44 years old. It prolonged the inevitable. Tuesday morning, Tom Brady himself announces that he is retired. He is done with the NFL. Congratulations, Tom Brady, on a hell of a career. You very rarely see this, right? Because we in the sports world have said this a million times. You begrudgingly love these athletes, right? Kobe Bryant, at the end of his career, God rest his soul, but at the end of his career, everybody could not help but cheer for his greatness because you were watching greatness there in front of you. Class personified was what Kobe Bryant brought us. And it was the exact same thing with Tom Brady. Even the last years in New England, you could just sit back and be like, my God, whenever he had that comeback, the 28-3 comeback in the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons and the MVP and Matt Ryan, he has that comeback. He leads that team back, just stoic. You knew there was something special there. You've already seen it, but that moment right there solidified it. And you were like, my God, this dude, like he's just great. You can no longer have the debate. Was it Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, any of these other people? In my mind, Tony Romo. I almost got through that without laughing. But you had those debates, right? And then that moment happened where you're like, no, he's just better than everyone else. Then he goes and he wins another one. And then he goes down to Tampa Bay and he shows you a different side of his personality. Oh my God, this dude's hilarious. This dude is a troll. This dude is just like us, because every single one of us would have been that person that was overlooked and looked over time and time again. Winds up being picked number 199. Zero expectations on this man's career. Winds up being the greatest quarterback of all time. Everybody on Tuesday genuflecting to Tom Brady. You are the greatest of all time. Everybody unanimously, even Destiny, who hates the man, was like, man, I wish there was one more year, that we can get one more year of Tom Brady. We got to see somebody actually receive the flowers, receive the roses before they die. He's still alive and able to smell these flowers, able to get that video from Rob Gronkowski and say, my God, this dude loved Tom Brady. Look at the way that Gronk handled that. Look at the video that he put out there. Monica Real saying she doesn't actually believe that Tom Brady is done. If you can, please expound on that. I would love to see why you don't think that he's done. Dan Morales saying legends never die. Montana, Rice, Aikman, Smith, Bryant, Gretzky, Jordan, Brady. You're right. Legends never die, right? Like, look at the way that people talk about Babe Ruth. Me, as a Yankees fan, I got a Babe Ruth jersey. I've got a whole bunch of stuff. I even got like a shoeless Joe Jackson thing, right? But very rarely in sports do you get to see somebody retire the way that he did. He didn't have the going away tour that we're seeing Coach K and Duke, Mike Krzyzewski. We're watching him do right now, where it's like, oh, hey, look at me. I announced my retirement before the year. Give me all the gifts you want, because we saw that with Derek Jeter. We saw that with Mariano Rivera. Greats, absolute greats. Tom Brady didn't do that. Tom Brady was worried about announcing his retirement this week because he wanted to wait till after the Super Bowl so that he didn't take anything away, any spotlight away from the players. It just sucks that people like Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington, who are great at their jobs, don't get me wrong, but they want to be the first to a story. And it takes away from Tom Brady getting to announce his own retirement on his own terms. And to me, he deserved that. There was something kind of taken away whenever you see a tweet from Adam Schefter on a Saturday that wow factor was taken away because you saw that tweet on Saturday. And then ultimately comes, Tom Brady announcing on an Instagram post, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to focus on my family, which he should. But he also should have been awarded the opportunity to say it himself without a bunch of jerks. Almost slipped out there. Forgot that I'm on radio. With a bunch of these people wanting to be first to this story. I get it. It's a huge story. It's what we all in journalism pride ourselves on trying to get, was a big story. Ultimately, though, at the end of the day, Tom Brady, the greatest winner of all time. Yes, you can dispute Bill Russell. That was 70 years ago against like 5 different teams. Not taking anything away from Bill Russell. I've always considered Bill Russell the greatest winner of all time. But Tom Brady did it in what people thought was a system. Then goes and does it somewhere else. And then goes in his last game, almost pulls off the impossible again. If not being let down by his defense, would have pulled off the impossible again. Tom Brady, salute to you, my dude. I want to see everything that he's doing in the future. Still number 1 on the man crush list. Although I will say Sean McVay and Jimmy Garoppolo are slowly starting to climb up, nipping at his heels. Whenever we come back, though, here on the tipping point with my tip tonight, I give you another bold prediction on what I think is going to happen. We get into our tip picks, and then I get you going. But before we get to our commercial break, the tipping point with my tip is brought to you by 3 Missions Brewery at 10179 Socorro Road down in my neck of the woods, Socorro, Texas. I might be spending a birthday there. Hint, hint. Who knows? But February 9th, the extremely talented Texas Terry will be hosting her infamous Paints and Pints night at 3 Missions Brewery. Then February 11th, music on the beautiful back patio out there featuring Sunset Standard, Fader, The Dapples, State Limbo, and Dippy in a New Days. And check this out. They've got a brand new Valentine's beer that's going to be released soon. And currently they have 3, count them, 3 chocolate beers. Chocolate raspberry. Oh, hold on. I feel like I need to get sexier with this. Hold on. They've got 3 new chocolate beers down at 3 Missions Brewery. Chocolate raspberry, chocolate strawberry, and chocolate cherry. If that doesn't get you going, then maybe asking about the Valentine's Day cookie special and remembering that there's $6 pours every Sunday at 3 Missions Brewery, 10179 Socorro Road. Visit them online at 3missionsbrewery.com. We continue in a little bit on the tipping point with Mike Tipton on Fox Sports 1380. I hope that was good. I hope that right there was a decent enough plug for them. Travis, if you're still watching, let me know. Once again, I am selecting music here so I can get the second part of the show, or I guess the last segment of the show underway. I always take music suggestions as well, so if you ever want to hear something, just let me know. All right. Getting back into the show here. I want to give a shout out to Millie who's watching. Thank you so much, Millie Stevenson, who has tuned in. Let's get back into the show. 3, 2.
Are you ready?
From the Fox Sports 1380 studio.
The greatest champion of all time.
Tom Brady, Super Bowl champion for the 7th time. You're also Super Bowl MVP.
The greatest athlete of all time. The greatest winner of all time.
Brady looking the other way. Brady going deep down the right sideline for Evans. He makes the catch. He's in for the score.
The greatest football player of all time has officially retired.
It's The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton.
Glorious. No, I won't give in. I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend. I will defend.
It is the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, Fox Sports 1380. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's show. I want to give a big thanks to our friends over at Undisputed Craft House.
No, I won't give in.
Our friends over at Three Missions Brewery. Check out those Valentine's Day beers. I'm all about it. I also want to mention that our friends over at Thrive 915 have an awesome promotion going on right now. The Thrive 915 10% discount card club, accepted over at 50 locations in the city of El Paso. Restaurants, retail, family activities are all part of the Thrive 915 discount club. The card is $25 in the newest way from Thrive 915 to support local businesses, local organizations, and most importantly, save your money. If you own a business or want to be a part of the discount card club, message the Thrive 915 discount card club on Facebook or on email thrive915foodfest@gmail.com. My guy Dan Morales will say next time let's do Mary Jane by Rick James. I got you, my dude. That'll have to wait till next week, though. Also, my dude Travis Storner tuned in saying, as I was giving them that great plug, I even went down with the sexy voice, like my normal voice that I talk with, not the one where I have to sound like happy radio guy, right? But my normal voice, I give you a great plug, and he was on the phone at that time. My heart is broken, but you can go back. I'll cut it for you. We'll put it out there. We'll make a commercial of it. Let's do that. I said before we went to the break that I was going to give you my bold prediction. Here we go. We have talked a lot about the NBA or the NFL. I haven't spoken about the NBA. Very many people don't know this, but I love the NBA. I like basketball more than I like football. I know that's sacrilege in the state of Texas. My bold prediction. Kawhi Leonard is done with the LA Clippers. The Claw hasn't played a game for the Clippers this year. He has been rehabbing a ACL injury that he sustained last year. I will tell your boss those exact same words, Travis. You give me a direct line to him, I will do that. But Kawhi Leonard hasn't played a game this year with the LA Clippers. Whenever you look at the Clippers right now, they're $51 million over the salary cap. They're paying $31 million this year in luxury tax. And there's no way that this team can sustain paying $80 million to two players in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So something has to give, right? You don't know what Kawhi Leonard you're going to get back. This is now another major injury that he has suffered in his career. He wasn't the most explosive athletic specimen in the world. He was good on defense. He was solid on offense, but you don't know what you're going to get back from Kawhi Leonard. So if you are the LA Clippers, what do? You trade him. You get rid of him. There's a team out there that could use a guy like Kawhi Leonard, especially whenever we look at next year, someone who might, be a contender. Someone who might be that team that's on the fringe that thinks that they have a chance of winning a championship or just a Kawhi Leonard away. But if you're the LA Clippers, there's no way in hell, in Hades, that you are holding on to that contract and to that player because, as we've seen, whenever he doesn't want to be with teams, San Antonio Spurs, he will milk these injuries. And that is what he's doing now with the LA Clippers. I'm not going to say that definitively. I'm just going to say that as my opinion that is what Kawhi Leonard is doing right now. Kawhi Leonard is a great basketball player. At one point in time was considered the greatest basketball player in the NBA with a LeBron James still playing. However, it hasn't panned out for the LA Clippers. And like I said, you can't have these big, splashy free agent signings whenever you're $51 million over the cap. Just getting rid of Kawhi Leonard is not going to get rid of all the issues that they have. But at the end of the day, as Dan Morales said, and as a lot of people need to remember, whenever the LA Clippers get rid of Kawhi Leonard, it will be a business decision. Dan Morales saying that Kawhi Leonard was a great player whenever he was playing for Popovich. I agree with that, but he also showed off his greatness the year that he was in Toronto, willing that team, carrying the dead corpse of a Raptor on his back to win a championship for the Toronto Raptors, the only championship for a team in Canada in the NBA. I want to get into our tip picks as well. I'm 15-13 on the season following another 1-1 weekend. This entire NFL playoffs has been a 500 average for your boy. Those of you that follow gambling, that know anything with these sports books and things of that nature, knows, yes, my record right now is still paying me a little bit of money. However, I don't want that. I don't want a little bit of money. Sorry, I can't say that. I don't want to be doing this thing that I'm doing for entertainment purposes only to only be a 500 batting average. I want to be slightly above. I want to be around 690 batting average. So that means I've got to win 9 out of every 13 games if I want to get there. So now we are going to, lay the groundwork here. We are putting in the work. We are putting in the effort to get up to that 690 batting average. I'm starting off this weekend with a layup in my mind. The Detroit Pistons on the road at the Boston Celtics, a 9-point underdog. Take the Celtics on that one. I would venture to take the Celtics and the points, but I will just go with the Celtics on that one right now. Duke UNC. This is a game that means a lot to me. I've been a fan of Michael Jordan's basically my entire life. I love Carolina Blue. I wouldn't say a huge UNC fan. I'm a Texas Tech fan. My number 2 would be UNC because I love that team. I love the colors. Whenever I lived in North Carolina, I tried to go to a game and it was sold out up until 2041. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to that game anytime soon. But Duke UNC, the last ride for Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, into Chapel Hill to take on the Tar Heels. His final time there. Duke 18-3 on the season. Carolina 16-6 on the season. Not very far off record-wise. Nothing would make me happier than to see the North Carolina Tar Heels, UNC, send Mike Krzyzewski and the Duke Nation home sad. Alas, I will not get that. I think Duke will ultimately have the emotions of this game, not wanting their, legendary head coach to leave a loser in North Carolina. I feel Duke is going to win that game. So we've got Duke winning. We've got the Celtics beating the Detroit Pistons at home. And then our final tip pick of the week, the San Antonio Spurs, a 5-point favorite over the fledgling Houston Rockets. I'm taking the Spurs. I am finally letting my homerdom show. I cannot think that a team as bad as what Houston is at this point in time can actually do what they need to do to beat the San Antonio Spurs. I am hoping the Spurs do not let me down. It has been a letdown of a season from the San Antonio Spurs. Hopefully they pull out the win here. But if not, hey, 2-3 ain't bad. I am no longer now that we are past the NFL playoffs, we've only got one more game to go. 2 more if you count the Pro Bowl. Nobody counts the Pro Bowl. 1 more game to go. I am no longer going to have even picks because I want to have either a winning week or a losing week. I do not like ties. Nobody likes ties. So that's my guarantee to you going forward. Again, the Tipping Point brought to you by Undisputed Craft House, 1881 Saul Kleinfeld, 3 Missions Brewery at 10179 Socorro Road. They've got all the Valentine's Day beers. Go check that out. And, of course, don't forget about the Thrive 915 10% discount card club. Check that out. Message them, Thrive915foodfest@gmail.com. Get yours. I've already got mine. Get that discount. Save a little bit of money. And, as always, support local. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton right here on Fox Sports 1380. I will see you all next week. That's the end of it, y'all. Bye.